Мы в жизни выбираем удобный и легкий путь, а трудный оставляем потом, когда-нибудь. Все сбудется, случится, но, впрочем, вот беда. Когда-нибудь не сбудется нигде и никогда. Мы с болью просим Бога, подай нам что-нибудь. Богатства, счастья много, чтоб радостней вздохнуть.
So the first well-known teaching that stipulates regular sacrificing is Maya religion. They worshipped feathered serpent Kukulkan. Maya perished, sacrificed themselves to this serpent, and serpent became more powerful. Why would he leave the earth? Many religions and teachings all over the world, including those of Sumer, Egypt, India, Aztecs, Maya, China, Aborigines of Australia refer to reptiles. Serpent just took advantage of diverse guises, yet it is easy to follow him in different eras and nations where mass losses of human lives occurred. People have been dying on wars, revolutions, crusades, in the massacre of St. Bartholomew, concentration camps during mass repressions. Different reasons were adduced to humanity to explain what masses of people were dying for. In 1930s and 1940s, the mass murders in Nazi Germany and Italy were a part of fascism ideology, of declared superiority of one race over the others. There have also been cases when people murdered others because thought themselves to be God's chosen people. For example, Old Testament approves murder of people. As a result, in July 2009, General Lieutenant Dubrov, chairman of Russian Anti-Fascist Committee, submitted a request to prosecutor's office demanding to recognize Old Testament and extremist literature. Following are brief excerpts from the request. The idea of Jews being God's chosen people pervades the whole Old Testament and is a key principle of Judaism, and Jehovah God introduced himself to Moses as the God of Jews only. I am the God of your father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jews appeal to God as follows. As for the other nations that have descended from Adam, you have said that they are nothing, and that they are like spittle, and you have compared their abundance to a drop from a bucket. And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of good things which thou fillest not, and wells digged which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not, when you shalt have eaten and be full. But of the cities of these people which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Here we can see a direct analogue with Maya Indian sacrifices, in other words with bloody murders, capturing the residents of neighboring states in order to sacrifice them to their god, feathered serpent Kukulkan. Based on above mentioned, one may conclude that the Old Testament ideology excites and incites to national, racial, and religious hatred, insults and demeans national dignity of non-Jews and Jews as well. Ideology of Old Testament is aggressive and immoral. It establishes ideals of evil. On October 28, 2010, General Lieutenant Dubrov fell under an arriving train and died from multiple injuries. The circumstances under which that happened were never cleared up.
Это, конечно, грустно слышать, но то, что это исследовано, доказано документально,
Of course, that's depressing to hear. Yet, that's been proven true on the basis of commonly known and recognized sources. And consequently, we cannot leave this question behind the scenes, otherwise we will face another concentration camp. Russia had a sad experience when, in 1941, people were forced to shut their eyes to Hitler's preparation for the war, and those who wouldn't were tried by a tribunal. And that was not for the good of the country when the war began. Now we may expect attempts to psychically suppress our attempt to voice the challenge. We may expect attacks by those who want to silence the situation, who want to conceal the mystic religion that does exist in the world from the people's eyes. But many people know that abductions and kidnapping of children are being committed for the purpose of ritual murder and use of the victim's blood. Many people know how fascist this testament is, that even Hitler, with his outspoken calls for destruction of non-Aryans, looks infant compared to secret murders of non-Jew. None of officially recognized religions in its entirety follows Old Testament, probably because it contains a large number of dogmas calling for violence. Nevertheless, multiple facts of ritual murders suggest that there still exists a mystery doctrine which embodies the ideology of the Old Testament in full and has many powerful followers. Actually, the Jew people have an unusual fate. Agree, it is almost impossible to preserve cultural and genetic authenticity wandering through the world and not having its own territory and home. Yet, this nation has given to the world many famous names in science, culture, and other socially significant spheres. Today, the Jews live in any country of the world. Few of us are aware of the nation's hidden impact on the world's fates. Jesus Christ was also Jew. He came to his people as Messiah in difficult time of moral lapse, lacking of hypocrisy that could be compared with Satanism. Jesus Christ spoke of God of the Jews Yahweh as Satan, blaming Jews that they made Satan their God. Explicit traces of this can be found in the Gospel of John, where Jesus said to the Jews, "You are of your father, the devil." Not for nothing, Pharisees visited almost all Jesus' preachings, trying to transform his words, doctrine, in order to turn common people away from the way to the real people's God. And not for nothing they crucified the Savior by the people's hands, turning people away from him. "Crucify him," people shouted, hating their Savior and believing in calumnies of slanders. So the Pharisees shifted the sin of crucifixion to the Jew nation, and the nation deserved proscription. Jesus' teaching was accepted not by all Jews. Many continued to practice Judaism, the Torah, 5 books of Moses, which became a part of the Old Testament. For centuries, Jesus was honored mostly in secret. After 300 years, Constantine, a Roman emperor, and his mother Helen decided to take on shield the name of Jesus Christ. It is hard to believe that the real cross on which Jesus was crucified was found 3 centuries later, only because Helen announced a reward for the find. Neither cross nor stone in Jerusalem on which Christ was supposedly laid after the crucifixion look like original, and the staircase in the temple of the Holy Sepulchre was declared as Calvary, but this building is contemporary. It was built a little bit more than 200 years ago. Calvary, as we remember it from Bible, is a hell. However, believers do not analyze, but take for granted. Any religion wants artifacts, and they are always found. Spiritual teaching of Jesus also have undergone adaptation to the needs of authority keepers. Jesus Christ fought against the anti-human teaching presented in the Old Testament, but they were able to attach it to the New Testament, the doctrine of humanness, love, and spirit that Jesus gave. "A new commandment I give unto you, love one another." So for many centuries, believers have not questioned themselves, how could one religion contain both a doctrine about sacrifices, money-grabbing, appropriation of another's property, usury, superiority and domination of one nation over all others on one hand, and doctrine about love, love to neighbors, non-acquisitiveness, birds do not sow nor reap, and the Heavenly Father give them food, on the other hand, black and white in one? Both before and after the coming of Jesus Christ, the main religion of Jews was Judaism. Therefore, briefly we can say that Jew people are divided on the Jews, Orthodox Christians, and atheists. Some advocates of God-chosenness are considered sectarians even by the Jews. Those are adherents of Chabad Lubavitch, a Hasidic movement in Orthodox Judaism. In his book Jewish Fascism, or Chabad, the Way to the Hell, Rabbi Edward Hodas, the head of the Jewish community in Kharkov, says, "For 12 years I've been fighting with Jewish fascism, and the Judo-Nazi sect Chabad is the main ideologist of it. The core principle of Chabad activities is the motto, Jews are above all, and Chabad is above the Jews." One more interesting fact. It was scientifically proved that rabbis, spiritual mentors of God's chosen Jews, have gene pool significantly different from other Jewish people. This fact was established by a joint team of scientists from Israel, the United States, Britain, and Canada, who undertook an extensive genetic study. Experts analyzed the structure of Y chromosome in a large number of Jewish priests and Jewish laity. Y chromosome is the one where which father passes to all his sons. It was revealed that Jewish priests have amazingly similar Y chromosomes. Surprisingly, Jewish priests genetically differ from Jewish laity more than Jewish laity differ from other nations. So the specific Jewish gene in rabbis, interpreters of the Talmud, does exist. Interestingly, whose gene is it? The ideology of world supremacy is professed by hidden sects unnoticed by us, yet we are exposed to their activities because that involves money and we all use money. Today the world is steered by those who clearly do not wish good to the world. The Old Testament states usury to be the way to achieve the goal of the world supremacy. In present days, usury turned to banking system. For the Lord thy God blesseth thee, as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow, and thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee.
Откуда взялась банковская система?
Where did banking system come from? Before banks appeared, they were just usurers who were despised for their immorality. Little by little, the immorality of usury, when one people were growing rich by deepening troubles of those who needed money, was turned to be a world's most respected occupation, and bankers became a most honored and respected people. Banking system today is a spider that is sucking money, exorbitant interest from the whole world.
Сейчас есть страны, в которых
There are countries today where bankers and banks play overpoweringly important role. These are Switzerland, America, and of course England. Global financial crisis erupted on the planet and leading to death 5 billion people out of 7 billion living today became a result of fulfillment of the commandment of usury contained in the Old Testament or in Torah. The one against whom Jesus came to preach gave that commandment. John Coleman, a former British intelligence agent, in his book The Committee of 300 reveals the existence of a world government. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the largest bankers' families, are members of the Committee of 300, which aims to remove useless eaters from the planet and leave only elite golden billion on it. The main instrument of the committee is global financial crisis, leading to the foundation of integrated central bank and to the total control of each of us through the dependence on money and hunger. Here is the implementation of the Old Testament commandment of dominance of the God-chosen people over the other nations through usury and debt's bondage. You may take this as a fiction, but Coleman claims to have examined hundreds of documents in the secret archives, and by now the book written 20 years ago has been proven true by life. Only when we realize the purport of what is happening will we be able to change things, to step into the era when normal, honest, decent, fair-minded people will govern, not willing to deprive people, but really caring, bringing order, harmony, prosperity, well-being, and purity in relationships. It is not too difficult, believe me. It only wants free will. But when facing food shortage, we explained that somehow it happens so that starvation is coming, and powers that be dissociate themselves from the results of their own governance. Why wouldn't they answer for the results of their work? Those who govern the world, the Group of 8, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, United Nations. They dissociate themselves from what is going on in the world every time that the world gets shaken by terrorist acts, wars, collapses of currencies. It became known that common currency for countries of North America, including Mexico, Canada, and the United States, is ready, and its name is Nibiru. This is another step toward the central bank establishment that world's government plans in order to control the whole world globally, to throw usury, dead news on all humanity. It is clear that central banks are invented to master humanity, and governments have no power over them. Indeed, all governments are the lieges of the world government, as was stated by Jan Hazing in his book Secret Societies. Recently, a discussion, do you believe that the world government exists? And shame on you to believe that, was held in Komsomolskaya Pravda, a Russian newspaper. So when they shame or ridicule you, it means you are being taken away from something really important. A normal person would just reason, discuss things, but not humiliate you with laughter, shame. But if someone attempts to humiliate you because you discovered something unusual, think about that. It means that you are on the right way. This is what Coleman writes. In my career as a professional intelligence officer, I had the opportunity to view a series of top-secret classified documents which were unusually explicit. What I saw filled me with anger and resentment and launched me on the course from which I have not deviated, namely to uncover what power it is that controls and manages the British and United States governments. In what is in fact an open conspiracy against God and man, which includes enslaving the majority of humans left on this earth after wars, plagues and mass murder have done with them, is not well hidden. In the intelligence community, it is taught that the best way to hide something is to place it in open view. The upper-level parallel secret government does not operate from dark basements and secret underground chambers. It places itself in full view in the White House, Congress, and in number 10 Downing Street and the Houses of Parliament. These men are the servants of the one world government, New World Order. Like the rapist who stops to offer his victim a friendly ride, he does not look like the monster he is. If he did, his intended victim would run off screaming in fright. The same applies to government at all levels. President Bush does not look like a dutiful servant of the upper-level parallel government, but make no mistake about it, he is as much a monster as are those horrors found in horror movies. Note how the Queen Elizabeth II performs the ceremonial opening of the British Parliament. There, in full view, is the head of the Committee of 300. Have you ever witnessed the swearing-in ceremony of United States President? There, in full view, is another member of the Committee of 300. The problem is only one of perception, but actually all answers are in front of our eyes. For centuries, England was seeking of world's dominance. Old Testament propagates God's chosen people and the right of one nation to live at expense of the others. New World Order is a main goal of world's government that cannot be an accident. Exactly in England, the central bank was an instrument for debt bondage development. In 1775, American colonists wanted to separate from England and escape from the oppression of the monarchy. Many reasons were mentioned, but only one was of principal importance. George III of the United Kingdom banned an independent and free from foreign lending rate currency, which colonists were producing for their needs. As a result, they were forced to borrow money from the Bank of England, with an interest which pulled colony into debt bondage. Benjamin Franklin wrote about that later. The refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system, which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators, was probably the prime cause of the revolution. According to the Bible, the tribes of Israel are tribes of descendants of 12 sons of Jacob, who founded Israel nation. Tribes are named after each son. Each tribe had its own code, color and stone, and moreover, each of the tribes had their own secret mission, which they had to carry on from father to son. Judah's tribe is a tribe of ruling elite, the tribe that is supposed to rule over all people. The coat of Judah's tribe is a lion standing on the hind legs. It is believed that King David was from this tribe, and Moshiach is expected to come from this tribe. Symbol of what country is lion? It's England. One more fact rarely mentioned by historians is that the first country where Jews arrived after long wandering around the world seeking for refuge was England. The date of their arrival is considered the normal conquest of England, namely, it is associated with 1066. Lion on the English coat appeared only in 1603, and it is believed that this coat belonged to one of the noble families of England. Before that, there were dragons on the coat of England. This fact is also interesting. Indeed, is Queen of England Jew? A mini investigation was published in the internet, according to which Kate Middleton, the Prince William's bride, is possibly Jew. The author of the article questions why the wedding of the Prince and Kate was set on Friday. As it turned out, Kate Middleton's mother's maiden name is Goldsmith. Kate's great-grandmother was Elizabeth Temple Harrison, daughter of Thomas Temple and Elizabeth Myers, and the name of great-grandmother's sister was Esther. It allows us to assume that some guests from the bride's side could not have come to the wedding of the century because they would not want to violate the sanctity of Saturday. The investigation also says that English Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, was convinced that British monarchs were King David's descendants. According to the queen's desire, her 4 sons, altogether she had 9 children. So her 4 sons, including the future King Edward VII, were circumcised. Consequently, the queen considered herself a Jew and followed Jewish traditions. Why is that being concealed from the subjects of crown and the whole world? Mass media and secular manners of politicians are aimed to convince us that everything is all right except unimportant temporary difficulties in economy. They convince us in their care, and it is easier for us not to doubt that. But why are the problems in our lives that they care about are only multiplying? Almost everything mentioned by John Coleman as plans of the world's government is now an accomplished fact. No much is left for fascist plans of golden billion to come true. Don't you want to resist the fascist doctrine implemented by invisible priests of cult of feathered serpent? Or do you choose to wait till Nibiru comes? In this case, let's take a look at the book The Committee of 300 to find our nearest future. Control over each and every person through means of mind control, legalization of drugs and pornography, keeping people everywhere from deciding their own destinies by means of one created crisis after another, and then managing such crises, organizing a worldwide terrorist apparatus and negotiating with terrorists whenever terrorist activities take place, taking control over education with the intended purpose of utterly and completely destroying it, to introduce new cults and continue to boost those already functioning. Having analyzed a vast number of documents, Dr. Coleman concluded that the committee own all the minerals, metals and gems, cocaine, opium, and pharmaceutical drugs, banks. They control all kind of cults and rock music. Communication and telecommunication are tightly controlled also. Let's take a close look at the phenomenon of youth cults. As John Coleman wrote, cults do not appear by themselves, but are controlled by the Committee of 300. The phenomenon of the Beatles was not a spontaneous rebellion by youth against the old social system. Instead, it was a carefully crafted plot to introduce by a conspiratorial body which could not be identified a highly destructive and divisive element into a large population group targeted for change against its will. New words and new phrases prepared by Tavistock were introduced to America along with the Beatles. Words such as rock in relation to music sounds, teenager, cool, discovered, and pop music were a lexicon of distinguished code words signifying the acceptance of drugs and derived with and accompanied the Beatles wherever they went to be discovered by teenagers. The Beatles created new social patterns, first and foremost being to normalize and popularize the use of drugs. Drug consumption by youth was growing. This new culture received maximum coverage in the mass media. Nobody would have paid much attention to the motley crew from Liverpool and the 12-tonal system of music that was to follow, had it not been for an overabundance of press exposure. The 12-tonal system consisted of heavy, repetitive sounds taken from the music of the cult of Dionysus and the Baal priesthood by Adorno and given a modern flavor by this special friend of the Queen of England, and hence the Committee of 300. Theo Adorno wrote the occult lyrics and composed all the music. It is important to note the deliberate fragmentation including language used by Tavistock. The teenagers never once dreamed that all the different things they aspired to were the product of old scientists working in think tanks in England and Stanford research. How mortified they would have been if they had discovered that most of their cool habits and expressions were deliberately created for their use by a group of older social science scientists. Why all the efforts of the elders who wanted to adopt the global dominance of reptiles, the apologists of the golden billion, were directed exactly on youth? Because youth have so much vital energy, which they are provided by nature to build their lives, and they naturally seek to realize the potential of their personalities. Youth is a future of humanity. In order to deprive humanity of the huge supply of energy constantly brought to the world by youth, the enemy of humankind needed to replace the true values of people. As a result, introduced were selfishness, urge to become a star, an idol for general admiration. The whole society may not consist of idols, but it's hard to explain that to youth. They really want to gain everything at once. Tavistock psychologists took took advantage of age psychology very subtle. Young people still do not suspect anything. World's government manipulates people's minds with mass media. Events are submitted to us in the light that benefits the government in order to make people approve their actions. This is a pattern of serpent behavior to pervert and discredit, to capture all. The following is an excerpt from interview with Daniel Danduray for magazine 625. Somehow, speaking about television, society still uses the 40-year-old term mass media. Television has dozens of functions in the modern world. Long ago, it has become a system of programming of people's behavior. It is not media anymore, but most effective way to control society. Remember how situation in Libya developed. Mass media created a defined image of Muammar Gaddafi and reported that he oppresses people and shoots oppositionists. But was that a reality? Here is an excerpt from an interview with Vladimir Chamov, former ambassador of Russia in Libya. Has Gaddafi oppressed people of Libya? What oppression are you talking about? Libya's citizens were provided with 20-year-long interest-free loans for housing. Liter of gasoline cost 10 cents. Food was almost for free, and they could buy a new Korea Jeep Kia only for $7,500. Now this country does not exist anymore. But it was said that Gaddafi was shooting peaceful demonstrators. This was to be sorted out specifically. International Commission should have conducted an independent investigation. Gaddafi let the commission in, but at the day when it was to arrive, bombing started. They just didn't allow the commission to work. If Gaddafi killed thousands of peaceful demonstrators, let the commission prove it. This information is confirmed by a letter to United Nations by Russian and Ukrainian doctors who worked in Libya. Before the war started, Libya was a real haven for native and foreign people who worked there. We ask you all to join our efforts to save people of Libya from genocide, which now is carried by the US Army and NATO, and stop aggression. A photo was published in the internet illustrating how the news today are being made. Seems like press turned to Hollywood. This is how ferocious battle of opposition with Gaddafi was recorded. Terrible consequences of air strikes of Gaddafi's aviation before the strikes of NATO, they recorded on an abandoned construction site. You can see a dense black smoke from the burned tires as an evidence of strikes of aviation on rebels. But what exactly is burning is never shown on such pictures. And it is only one example. You can remember many by yourself. For example, when the law introducing social benefits monetization was adopted, a wave of protests erupted across Russia. In the city of Samara, Russia, two mass meetings were held. One in front of the regional government's building, with students and employees supporting the new law. Interestingly enough, they were brought to the meeting by buses, and many of them were just forced or bribed to come. On the other square, people came from the whole city. They were protesting against the law, which was turning them to beggars in a twinkling of an eye. What did TV broadcast? Of course, the law-favoring rally. And for example, a person in far east of Russia, watching such news from all over the country, was to come to conclusion that whole country supported the law. Then why would he go and protest alone? The technology is called the spiral of silence, when the opinion of minority of people is shown by media as an opinion of majority, which makes dissatisfied majority stop thinking. Don't be surprised, technology and techniques of control and manipulation have been practiced by servants of the committee up to automatism. So who manages the committee? Power center of this group is located in London, in the financial centers of London City. Most British politicians are from titled families, and their titles are hereditary and transmitted from father to eldest son. This system ensures that outsiders cannot even dream of political power in England. Only few outsiders have managed to burst through the ranks of the elite. And now let's remember David Icke's theory. Exactly in the mixing of two races, human and reptilians, lies so-called divine right of kings, the belief that only certain bloodlines have the God-given right to rule. These bloodlines later became royal and aristocratic families of Europe, and thanks to the Great British Empire and other European empires, they were exported to the Americas, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and right across to the Far East, where they connected with other reptilian hybrid bloodlines. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the British royal family, and the ruling political and economic families of the United States and the rest of the world come from these same bloodlines. This is why this family interbreeds each other so obsessively. It is not because of snobbery, but to keep pure their genetic structure, the reptilian-mammalian hybrid. If you still think that the world government's activities have nothing to do with you, and by the way that is the aim of the committee, then you are wrong again. Coleman writes that Yeltsin had complied with orders of the Committee of 300, who and in whose interests is ruling our country. However hard it would be to believe, let's compare the facts. Today, vaccination is widely promoted as a panacea from all illnesses. If our government care about national health so much, why people are forced to wait for appointment with endocrinologist or immunologist for months, while vaccination is available anytime? It is declared that cancer vaccine has been invented. Since 2009, women have been offered a new way to prevent cervical cancer, vaccine against human papillomavirus. Only girls and women of childbearing age were substituted as subject to vaccination, although doctors know that this virus affects men as well. If the virus causes the development of cancer cells, why it is inactive in man's organism? In 2007, American Medical Association journal published stunning information about ineffectiveness of this vaccine. The authors of the study found no evidence that the vaccine works at all. Then why women are being imposed to be vaccinated? The following information was distributed by a group of physicians through the internet. For 20 years, scientists have developed contraceptive vaccine to cope with overpopulation of the Earth. The studies were conducted under the aegis of World Health Organization and funded by the Rockefeller Foundation under the supervision of the World Bank and the United Nations. How does the vaccine work? Body of a pregnant woman produces a special hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG. If HCG is attached to allogenic protein, for example to a weakened virus, and in such complex implanted into a female body, the body will produce antibodies against both the virus and HCG. When the woman gets pregnant, the antibodies will attack HCG and provoke miscarriage. So-called anti-tetanus vaccine, created on the same principle, was anonymously tested on thousands of women in Nicaragua, Mexico, and Latin America. Interestingly, the vaccination allegedly against tetanus was offered only to women of childbearing age, although tetanus affects both men and women of any age. Indeed, it is much easier to prevent childbirth compared to fighting useless eaters. Maybe cancer vaccine was made by the same principle. Remember this when you will be insistently offered to be vaccinated with a new super vaccine that will save you from all health problems. Bill Gates, a member of the Committee of 300, said,
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
According to John Coleman, birth control and education of new generations who will be totally subordinated to a world government are the main priorities of the Committee of 300. On the International Exhibition Expo 2010 in Shanghai, Russia presented Childhood 2030 project. The purpose of the project is raising competitive human capital out of children. The following was specified in the project as means of achieving this goal: rejection of child parental love as delusion and atavism, rejection of the notion that children are supposed to grow up in a family, introduction of compulsory licensing and examinations for parents to get the right to raise their own children, transfer of children of unsuccessful parents to competent educational committees, inserting chips in the brains of children for the communication with global information managing networks, genetic modifications of person aiming to enhance his abilities. It sounds fantastic, but scientists and politicians are seriously discussing this project, and if they determine to implement it, what will you be able to do? How will you protect your children alone? A system of juvenile justice is being actively developed and promoted in Russia today. Nominally, this is a complex of measures to protect rights and freedoms of underaged. In fact, it looks very much as an effective system of removal of children from any, even problem-free, well-to-do family, allegedly due to their rights violations. Juvenile justice may be the first step to transfer children to communities for raising a competitive human capital out of them, and that is just a beginning. According to John Coleman, the ultimate goal of the Committee of 300 is a new world order, a one-world government and one-unit monetary system under permanent non-elected hereditary oligarchs who self-select from among their numbers in the form of a feudal system as it was in the Middle Ages. In this one-world entity, population will be limited by restrictions on the number of children per family, diseases, wars, famines, until 1 billion people who can be useful useful to the ruling class in areas which will be strictly and clearly defined remain as the total world population. There will be no cash or coins on hands of non-elite. All transactions will be carried out by means of a debit card which shall bear the identification number of the holder. Any person who in any way infringes the rules and regulations of the Committee of 300 shall have the use of his or her card suspended for varying times according to the nature and severity of the infringement. To control mankind, one should control vital resources. In contemporary world, everything is attached to money and oil. So, who possesses these treasures? Food we can only buy by money. We could grow something. There is enough land in our country, but it's being withdrawn from usage. More genetically modified products are being produced. Their safety has not been proven. Moreover, rats fed with genetically modified products show increased mortality level. Abnormal development and over-aggressiveness were observed in these animals. Lactating females ceased to care for their offsprings. Rats are very similar to human in morphology and biochemistry. It is very probably that genetically modified ingredients influence people same way. Water, soil and air used to be something absolutely natural, normal in our life. Now they are becoming a deficit. Again, ideology of God-chosenness is being introduced. All and every good must belong only to them. In order to keep masses of people in subjection to a small group of reptilian sovereigns, they want total control, so that they could promptly identify the protesting, rebellious, resistant individuals and destroy them one by one. Following are just a few ways utilized for surveillance of those who attempt to defend freedom and equality of society. Cell phones, from the very moment of development, are equipped to provide information about the exact location of the subscriber, to record and tape conversations, to remotely turn on microphone and tap conversation in proximity to the phone, even with the phone off. Voice control, timbre of voice may be recorded in a database, which gives possibility to identify voice of a wanted person on the air of any phone, and then fixed location. Face control, broad net of espionage surveillance system make it possible to discover a wanted person by geometrical parameters of his or her face anywhere in the world. According to General Viktor Cherkashin, deputy head of Moscow police, in Moscow, in most busy locations on railway stations and subways, already installed are more than 60,000 video surveillance cameras. Altogether, by the opinion of the general, the capital wants 150,000 of such devices. There are more than 200,000 of such cameras in London, which, by the way, did not help to reduce crime. Computer with internet access offer great possibilities for professionals. With special software, they can access any data stored on your computer, can listen to conversations and even record a video if a webcam is attached to your computer. Wiretapping. Special equipment allows to use batteries, walls, electrical outlets, windows as sound retransmitter. Chips are put in cars and on the clothing. It is hardly possible today to evade wiretapping. Satellites. Today's satellites are capable to observe hands of watch on an arm. Satellites provide possibility to discover location of a person or a vehicle with an accuracy of 1-2 meters. Besides, almost every car is equipped with GPS navigator, which is very convenient when you travel a long distance or if you are in a familiar city, and no less convenient to monitor the movements of your car. Wiretapping inside a car is also common. Biometrical travel passports. Human eye iris and fingerprints are unique. Previously, this data was taken only from criminals to reveal their next crime. Biometric personal data documented and downloaded to a global network will allow to follow any person remotely. There exists radar system capable to detect objects as small as nickel at a distance of several hundred miles. Same way they can detect an electronic chip. Introduction of ideas with electronic chips will ensure total control involving space and other means of tracking. Credit card. By using it, you immediately identify your location. Moreover, bank can block your card and therefore stop your access to your own money. Notice, cards lockups are already usual. Another brilliant secret services invention is social networking, such as Facebook and others. Your profile is your dossier, which you fill out by yourself, including your occupation, movies you like, even your mood and current location. It makes so easy to track your connections, friends, relatives, acquaintances. In case if you are forced to hide, where would you go? Whom would you contact? Obviously one of your contacts, friends or relatives, whom so convenient to contact through a social network. There is no place to hide in a city. We fill out our dossier just by coming out on street, using our cell phone, ATM, buying through internet. Enormous amount of money is being spent on maintenance of informants or squealers, special servant secret agents who work in all organizations and report on what is happening there. There is an army of trained tails or people who follow on your heels. Vehicle tracking techniques are worked out when an object is passed from one tracker to another so that you not smell a rat. Prospects of surveillance development include widespread introduction of biopassports with electronic chips, installment of electricity and water meters, readings of which will be displayed at a central point so that they could see when a person appears in his apartment, subcutaneous chips which are so small that they can be easily implemented into a person's body through an injection. Technologies do not stand still. The arms race has been stopped only on paper. There are evidences that even mental and climate weapons exist and actively used.
Все мы знаем, что аномальная жара в России, она просто неприродного происхождения. Волна над Россией была стоячая, именно погодных генераторов.
It is well known that abnormal heat in Russia during the summer of 210 did not occur naturally. The wave above Russia was stagnant, exactly because of weather generators. We also all know about existence of HAARP, a huge microwave oven that changes climate of the whole planet. But we've been told about global warming, allegedly caused by industrial gases, which actually contribute only a few percent to the atmosphere. On the contrary, HAARP, occupying large area, affect atmosphere as your microwave affect your dish. They are destroying us without asking if we want to be destroyed. There are so many weather generators, and it is well known that climate weapon was in service even in the Soviet Union. However well known, this topic is not being raised because our mass media are under control of those who shape public opinion. We are controlled by those who shape our views very closely, providing us with only restricted pieces of selected information. Often this would be a lie, and it is never about what is the most important. The Russians remember the summer of 2010 as the time of anomalous heat and wildfires of unprecedented scale. There is an opinion that such weather was caused by climate weapon. According to Nikolai Levashov, forests in Russia were set on fire with a powerful laser beam from one of the satellites on the Earth orbit. Many resources reported launching of an American spacecraft equipped with a powerful laser weapon. Mission X-37B is highly classified. The time of the flight was not reported. Information was published that tracks of arsons were registered along the trajectory of motion of the spacecraft. Beijing, as is known, has the second best service of space objects control. Zhu Qintao, General Mayor of Chinese Army, gave a briefing for journalists regarding the flight of X-37B. He blamed the United States for causing artificial earthquakes and torrential rains, followed by massive calamities on the area of China. The United States has never commented that statement. The states were either to confirm or to disprove the accusation. It seems they cannot do that. We are not informed about psychic and weather generators. We are not told that the noose of total control is tightening around our neck step by step, but we must know that. Internet talks about that, but we read and put it aside. We have to stop and come to our senses. We must understand that it is our neck, but not of our neighbor. And by the way, neighbor is also human, and anyway, you will be the next. Why don't we understand the moment of history that we are in?
Мы находимся в разгаре психической войны. Именно космические силы,
We are at the height of psychic war. We are subject of psychic energy affection by cosmic forces. Whole our technocratic civilization is aimed to invent a bloodless weapon of mass destruction, of subduing humans in a weak-willed slavery. It is well known that when working on submarines or aircrafts, scientists follow natural samples, shape and functioning of animal body. Nature has created perfection in many ways. Do you know that computer imitates human brain? We are all connected to information field, same as computer is connected to global net. We just do not believe in ourselves, and as a result, do not contact global information field. Connection is broken, as any device may be broken. It is being concealed from us that we should think in fields and waves terms, because we have field and wave structure. Chinese, Indian medicine, and even psychotreatment procedures influence our field and wave nature. We know that our nerves send electromagnetic impulses, but same impulses are sent by computers, television, and radio. Can they coincide in phase? Can they affect us? Yes, they can. In the first Moscow Medical Institute named after Sechenov, a team of scientists conducted studies of this physical field of biological objects, modulated by semantic factor. Semantics is the science of the meaning of words, phrases, symbols, signs, etc. Researchers proved possible information transferring between two living objects without using traditional channels of interaction and existing fields, electromagnetic for instance. In other words, without seeing and hearing each other. We all remember the commercial of ultrasound generator turning rats and mice out of home. This psycho-generator radiates signals of horror and anxiety that are perceived by rodents' brain, and they run away because they feel horror. But few people know that same experiments were carried out on people during the First World War, and the experiments gave positive results. When advancing armies were getting the impulse of horror, they just cast their arms and retreated from the battlefield. Fear provides easy possibility to control society. Analyze. How do you feel? How do surrounding people feel? How do you behave, react? If only no trouble happened, and I wish it would not turn out worse. There are psycho-generators able to cause panic, aggression, delight, euphoria, and other feelings that people can perceive from psycho-generators founded on them. Historical evidences prove that during Yeltsin's famous speech on the tank and during Moscow White House defense in August 1991, according to the official statement of Doctor of Philosophy Todor Dochev, a direct treatment of Muscovites by psycho-generator was conducted. The psycho-generator being set on a board of American cruiser Balkan moored on August 18 in Varna. They write a lot about Kyrgyzstan, where the hatred and mockery of people have surpassed all imaginable limits, about the brutality of Georgian soldiers who cut up stomachs of pregnant Ossetian women. People cannot behave like that. It could only happen under the influence of psycho-generators, which turn human into beast. From testimony of a Tskhinvali citizen, a pregnant woman was with us, whose name I don't know. She tried to get out of the basement and reach the hospital. When she got outside, Georgian soldiers ran her down and with words, "When your child grew up, he would fight with us," stabbed her in stomach several times. The woman died from her wounds, and my wife saw that. During the dispersal of demonstrations in Tbilisi on November 2007, a diamond-shaped plant was used. It was discovered by a journalist from a Russian television channel during examination of Chronicles frames. It turned out that this plant, when on, causes severe pain in ears, feeling of unexplainable, uncontrolled fear and panic. A similar system was used by the United States military against Iraqi army. We as organization have experienced influence of such psycho-generators. We became target for such action because started to fight for our rights. Human is a complicated and at the same time simple system. Our brain is a kind of computer. Different parts of it are responsible for different activities, for our consciousness, memory, perception and decisions. And by influencing certain parts, it is possible to influence the person as robot, unfortunately. If a person does not have a firm moral and ethical standards, this influence can easily take him away from normal natural state of morality. There exist technologies capable to substitute personality when person does not realize that he or she is closely controlled by another person who literally installs himself into him or her. Such techniques are described and available both in book form and in internet. Even martial arts techniques are often advertised as a possibility to affect another person on distance. It is possible to substitute soul when the person's own soul leaves body, and it is substituted with a dark one. In such cases, relatives and acquaintances often notice that person became slightly different, substituted. All these have existed since ancient times, but till recently only prominent historical figures were attacked that way. Lately, such aggression became rampant. Sophisticated systems of mass conscious control have been developed. A most hazardous one is Further Energy Informational Development, Russian abbreviation for it DEIR, by Dmitry Vereshchagin. The following is announcement of the system by its author. Our task was to develop a set of techniques for one person to become capable to control many in such a way that they would not notice that. The techniques were to be possible to apprehend by a person of any, even average and low spirituality. This is the official version. Hidden essence is even more serious. Following is a statement published on website The Mystery of Psychotronic Weapons. This system is a real complex that helped automate an ancient magic and manipulate conscience of people with the help of electronics, computers, artificial intelligence. After this psychotronic weapon was made, it was decided to test it on people. Psycho-generators were put on, an electromagnetic object carrying a certain package of frequencies caught on the head of every person living in our country. This object, called magnetron, is hanging over our heads constantly while psycho-generators are working. It allows to transmit same thoughts and feelings to all people. For instance, highly positive attitude to politicians, or thought that you cannot change anything if it only holds up. How does it work? Virtual copies of the operator and his victim are created in supercomputer. The phantom of DEIR operator, his power double, implants himself into a victim and works with him via magnetron. It is possible to control victim's behavior, influencing specific points in his brain. Operator can disable victim's memory, make a person a schizophrenic, put on program of a rapid aging, sickness, irritation, drowsiness, depression. The most scary thing is that victim doesn't realize this enslavement. What in reality is hiding behind this system can be described as psychotronic fascism. A DEIR trainer tells, nobody can touch a thought with a hand. It doesn't leave material evidences. Nobody will prove that it was you who did it. You will create a psychotronic concentration camp in which prisoners will be targets. It will remind fascist camps of World War II. Same with Nazi concentration camps. You will conduct experiments on prisoners in your psychotronic camp. Having unlimited possibilities, intruding into other person's mind, you will turn person to insane, torture his mind, his personality, and under certain circumstances destroy him. There is no need to feel sorry for people. Another one will come to replace him, and in other words, each member of group will fill out his own psychotronic camp with new victims. Think about it. We are an open book for any spy, scoundrel who has a power program. Computer can tap not only your phone, but also your brain, sending you any thoughts, making you a radio-controlled toy. This is pretty real and widely spread modern technology. It's not even secret anymore. There are websites and books describing these techniques. All this can be done to uninitiated people. That is why you should know about it and fight it, either with computer technologies or simply by uniting our psychic energy with the energy of whole nation. To ensure effective defense, it's better to realize common aims and common danger. Human will is the strongest power, but it takes to realize the aim and the measure of risk.
Психическая война. Это война.
Psychic war is a war of humanity hypnosis. Snakes hypnotize their victims and set them into unreality, in disbelief, in illusions. Faith is existing in reality. Purposefulness is a will, but nowadays people usually do not have will. Instead, there is a habit to give up, to wave hand, saying nothing can be changed. This is hypnosis. When you don't want to change anything, when you are sure that everything is useless and you will do not anything. This attitude reminds very much wolves surrounded with the rare drugs. A wolf, with all its courage of predator, cannot go beyond these rags. It is limitation of consciousness, and hunters can easily shoot him, and neither can we people. We are not able to go beyond our limitations and realize that we are strong enough and we can overcome anything. Russian epical hero always improved the situation, although often was asleep until the last moment, and dragon would drive him into the ground up to the waist. But in result, hero won. Hitler came almost to Moscow, but in the end we got to Berlin, let's believe. We are the Russian, as Suvorov was saying, and consequently we will win. And everyone who lives in Russia is Russian, because even foreign tsars who came to Russian throne were becoming Russian and took care of Russia. There is a power of our country, because brotherhood is stronger. Tsiolkovsky said that if people learn to unite, if there will be many people on the planet, they will win. Chizhevsky said, when the time of solar activity comes and the biggest crisis on the planet advances, people will have to unite, and only united people will win. And I will tell from the position of energy informatic what united people are. United people summarize their fields, and each field, when connected to another, multiplies its force not twice, but by 7 times. And imagine the entire mass of people coming together to unite in one purpose. As an army of the war, hooray to the attack, aim and victory. Similarly in life, we really should stop blood, because it is a sacrifice. But only by common peaceful will, by uniting auras, by uniting power and voicing one will we be able to defend our country as a minimum and restore the brotherhood of nations in our country and in the world as maximum. That was predicted. There are many predictions. There remained not much time till the fate of our planet will be decided. Everybody knows the date of December 21st, 2012, indicated by many sources, including calendar of Cherokee, a Native American tribe, ends in 2012. Zulu Indians believe that in 2012 the world will turn upside down. Indians believe that in 21st century Kali Yuga age will be completed, followed by renewal of time. Egyptian calendar ends in 2012. The Incas called 2012 the date of meeting with self. The Aztecs called it the sixth sun. However, to simply wait for 2012 means to miss an important date of the final examination of humanity. Life on the Earth is studying in School of Consciousness development by humanity. Humanity comprehends the world, and it happens by cycles. You can compare these cycles with classes in comprehensive school or with courses in college. Maya civilization had several calendars. One calendar describes the evolution of human consciousness. Cycles of consciousness development are perceived as waves in it. The time allotted to mankind to understand the universe ends, on Maya estimation, on October 28, 2011. Consciousness is the main value of human. That is why all cults, rituals, and later various ideologies, propaganda, advertising, psychotronic weapon have been aimed to transform consciousness and to steal it. Exactly consciousness, the state of mind, will determine the fate of humanity. Depending on results of passing the cosmic school of consciousness, the death or the life in the golden age will be given to humanity. Probably Maya Indians got this information from Nibiru. This planet is seeking the right to destroy humanity by the coming retribution law and take the Earth's atmosphere. Consciousness Cycles calendar ends very soon, on October 28, 2011. So what happens in 2012 will be decided earlier, on October 28th this year. The exam will be either passed or not. Will we defeat the serpent, or he will defeat us? Maya calendar consists of 9 waves, or elves, by the number of stairs on their pyramids. Each wave has its own length, and all they end simultaneously. The longest, lowest wave started with a Big Bang 18.4 billion years ago. The shortest wave started recently on March the 9th, 2011, and will last for 234 days. Each wave subdivides into 13 equal periods, 7 so-called days and 6 so-called nights. In the last wave, these day-nights will last for 18 days. And the change happening with the man's consciousness in the each day are more or less in the same scale. Imagine what took 1.2 billion years during the first wave will happen in 18 days during the last wave. The wave starts with day and ends at day. Day is a time when we create. Night is a time when we digest what we've created and prepare for the next day. Days is a metaphor for seed germination. It means what we sow at the beginning of the wave, we will gather at the end. Every wave has its own name and means a leap in development. First wave is a Big Bang. The beginning is the first substance. The result is creation of galaxies, stars, chemical elements, and unicellular organisms. Second wave, mammals. First animals, as a result, animals, plants. Third wave is pithecoid. First monkeys, as a result, Australopithecus. Fourth wave, mankind, first people. Fifth wave, communities, speech, as a result, complicated instruments, shamanism, rock painting. The sixth wave, nations, first states, as a result, writing, religion, science, art, the monarchies. The seventh wave, planetary. It started on July 24, 1755. Industrialization, as a result, materialism, democracy, electricity, planetary consciousness. The eighth wave, galactic. It started on January 5, 1999. Information technologies, galactic consciousness. The ninth wave, universal. It started on March 8, 2011. Realization of unity. The result is unknown yet. Global changes on the Earth have already started. In January 2011, a surprising event happened. On the west coast of Greenland, first sunrise after many days of polar night came 2 days early. Citizens and scientists were very surprised. For the sun, in order to come out 2 days earlier, the Earth axis had to bend. Supporters of this version say that the falling birds and sea animals who beach themselves are also a proof of the Earth axis inclination change. And there are many predictions that only Russia will be saved. Still, the Russian people will take off the last shot. It means they are kind, people of generous soul, spiritual. They deserve to stay and live in this planet and can save the entire Earth, but their quantity is becoming less and less. The Russians are being destroyed because the whole planet is being destroyed deliberately. There exist many prophecies about Russia. The following is what Vanga, a Bulgarian clairvoyant, said. In 1996, the new person under the sign of Yu teaching will appear in Russia, and this person will rule over Rus all his life. The new teaching will come from Russia. The oldest and truest teaching will spread throughout the world, and the day will come when all religions of the world will be replaced by a new philosophical teaching of the fire flower. Russia is the ancestor of all Slavic nations, and those who separate from it will soon return to its new quality. Socialism will return to Russia in a new form. There will be large-scale collective and cooperative farms, and former Soviet Union will be restored, but as new union. Russia will grow and get stronger. No one can stop Russia, and there is no force that could break Russia. Russia will sweep away everything in its path and not only survive, but will become the sole undivided mistress of the world. And even America in 2030s will recognize superiority of Russia. Again, Russia will become strong and powerful real empire, and once again will be called by the old ancient name, the Rus.
Русский народ действительно самый духовный, только потому, что он самый добрый, последнюю рубаху отдаст, это мы знаем. И сила народа в духе всегда была.
The Russian people are really very spiritual. Just because they are very kind, they will take off the last shot for you. The world knows that. And the nation's spirit power was always concentrated on prayer. They try to teach us to pray with specific words from old Slavic language that we neither remember nor understand now. But new time has come, new challenges, and we must pray about global things that were not actual before. Common unification in single prayer is the only way to salvation, trust me. Prayer is concentration of our mental energy. You send it to the higher realms of existence, to the higher realms of space. Higher superconscious and higher civilizations are waiting for you there, who also visited the earth in the form of the great masters, in Lemuria, in Atlantis. It is also described in the Eastern tablets, although the memory of it is being forcibly closed in people. Prayer is a cry from one's heart. It doesn't make sense to mumble as they do in churches monotonously. We need to pray putting whole soul, powerfully, genuinely, honestly sending beam, impulse to a higher spiritual teacher, or in other words, to your superconsciousness, your higher I, to your higher mind brothers. It is important to want your heart to feel and talk sincerely, to speak with the higher words, to realize that there is telepathy. Your heart has to understand that. People can hear each other, and a person can hear a loved one in a distance, and so can we all together be family members. And we are really a family, in one nation, in one world, and we hear each other at a distance. A crowd effect is known, and the effect of masses, of nation, of people praying. This is our weapon, a sincere common prayer, a sincere common action for the good of everyone, with faith that it all possible. Always in hard times, people read poems, sang songs. Those that inspired them took their spirit to the high world, to the ideals of morality, purity, justice. We also read poems and sing songs, but not about unhappy love, and not about ourselves personally, but about world harmony, about divine, and about things important for all, not just for one person. Only when all people live in harmonious society, everyone will be happy. This is a dream of humanity about equality and brotherhood, toward which all countries and eras have been tending. And now we have a chance of the last minute to jump in on the footboard of the train that goes to the Golden Age. Now we know about the existence of the world's government, the brutal hand that enforces its plans to murder the whole civilization on the planet, and most rapidly in Russia. All reforms, all political events are not accidental and submitted to one scenario. We just need to learn to see this hidden intention in all events, this evil will passing through all decisions of powerful people relating to public life. They are deciding for you and me, and we humbly accept their decisions. The modern world moves toward death with fast steps. At this time we are carried away by the bustle and search for the daily bread. Global plan is working relentlessly, and it seems that nothing depends on people in the general, neither on each of us. That is why we allow this plan to work, but the impression of hopelessness is created by those who are afraid of the power of masses, and that's why masses are subjected to training. Like lions or elephants, the super strong being humbly obeys the one whom it can easily crush. Always for implementation of their ideas, government relies on people. It needs approval of people. That is why mass media seek to create necessary impression regarding powers that be and their actions. Because people actually can confront evil, and they did many times in history. Even slaves threw off the yoke, and the slave-holding system collapsed. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King led people who had no rights to freedom only by the force of will and spirit, with no arms and no bloodshed. And what about us? Why God, the forces of evolution, can't rely on people while dark forces can? Look at yourself. We lost moral and ethical norms as a measure of human values. We lost the idea of motherland, patriotism. It has become unfashionable. We forgot about love, friendship, but remember about sex and nightclubs. Instead of spiritual values, we can see only material ones. This is called serving the golden calf. That is why we suffer. Today we must restore powers of authority to us, people of the country. The Constitution of the Russian Federation assigned the powers of authority to the people, although that remains only on paper today. Indeed, after the Constitution of Socialism, people would never accept amendments depriving them of power, rights and freedoms. Today we can request what is fixed in the main law of the country, and we must consider protection of moral and ethical norms to be the utmost value in our political situation. The point that professional competence is the most important condition failed time testing. A professional with guilty conscience and no honor deprives people of vital resources. That is why the Volya party considered decency and honor the main conditions ensuring governments working in the interests of people and not of oligarchs in international capital. We should realize politics and psychology are closely related. Each of us contributed to destruction of our motherland when accepted imposed rules and allowed to take away what belongs to us by right. What national character traits lead us to the abyss? They are consensuous dishonesty, indifference, incompetence, and unwillingness to participate in community life, laziness and apathy. And longing for free lord. How can we redeem our fall towards our motherland and future generations? Start considering what is going on. Start fighting for social justice and participating in politics. There is no other way. Nobody will do anything in place of you, but so many are working hard against us. We've harnessed really too long. It's now time to go. We, the people of Russia, must do anything to bring back all achievements of socialism and build the government of real sovereignty of the people, considering the best achievements of both planned and market economy, state control combined with free enterprise. The Volya political party suggests national idea. Russia can be restored only from below by power and unification of mass. From above, Russia is being destroyed more and more.
Смотри, товарищ, над страной рассвет уже встает. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. Россия выстоять в веках смогла от всех невзгод. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. И снова вместе сможем мы вести страну вперед. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. И знают все и стар, и млад, страна с колен встает. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. По телевизору всем нам чиновник нагло врет. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. Идет нас сердце на борьбу, и честь на бой зовет. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. Рука в руке и сердце в такт, история вперед. Когда мы врозь, то мы толпа, а вместе мы народ. А вместе мы народ. А вместе мы народ.
It's our duty to put things in order in our common house, in our country. In 3 years, the Volya Party held more than 1,100 mass meetings and pickets simultaneously in 50-70 cities of Russia. We call people of Russia to unite to save our future. To become motive power in salvation of country, people must know the truth. So far, mass media controlled by authorities conceal the truth, and the history is being administered by foreign grabby hands. The Volya Party was established by members of Svetlana Pionova Academy of Development. The academy follows the author's method by Svetlana Pionova, which promotes ethical norms and respect for universal moral standards.
Светлана Михайловна, помните, какая я пришла в академию? Я вам хочу поделиться в слезах, в соплях, инвалид. Да, у меня был очень сильный сколиоз позвоночника, 4 позвоночных...
Svetlana Mikhailovna, do you remember me when I first came to your academy? Invalid, I had advanced scoliosis, vertebral hernia, I could hardly walk. Today, I want to thank you so much for your great love and efforts which made it possible for me to stand on this stage and dance like this. According to the plans of the world government, Russia is to split into several weak states. We have to become slaves, but being a slave is punishable. A slave's life has no value. By now, our country has been taken through all steps of its destruction. Abyss is in 2 steps. We may disappear as a people. World crisis, collapse of American financial system is a way to the death for the whole humankind. So who is interested in ruining of humankind? John Coleman published the world government's plans to annihilate the most part of the Earth's population as useless eaters. LaRouche addressed the world community, informing that the world banking system has set up all conditions for death of 5 billion people. Lately appeared information about uninvited extraterrestrial guests, which explains a lot regarding extraterrestrial civilizations, which solve their problems at the cost of the Earth's resources. Nibiru, a planet killer, approaches the Earth. An ancient Hopi Indian prophecy states that one day two stars, two gods, will come to the earth, blue star Kachina and red star Kachina. According to the prophecy, the appearance of two Kachinas will reorder the world. The blue star will come first and bring great trials, yet that will be only the harbinger of catastrophic events to be brought by the red star. However, the prophecy seems to give hope. Those who heed the warning of the harbinger and live in peace will avoid the tragedy. It is easy to assume that the blue star is Comet Helenin and red star is Nibiru. Heading of Leonid Yelenin's personal website seems to illustrate the prophecy. Indeed, on the right we can see a comet-like object, a shining blue coma, and what is on the left? Is it red? Whether this is Nibiru? Google gave 8 million results for Nibiru. The planet was mentioned by many Earth civilizations under different names, including Nibiru, Planet X, Hercobulus, Wormwood, Marduk, and many others. To understand what is going on is vitally important. Otherwise, we risk perishing as a civilization. According to known prophecies, Nibiru has already caused death of life on Phaethon and the Mars, the two planets of solar system. Scientists confirm that. Prophecies warn the value of the matter in dispute is life, while mockery is not an argument, but a way to distract attention. So the question is whether Comet Helenin and Nibiru are one or not. There exist a number of evidences proving that these two are parts of one. Indeed, consider following astronomical evidences. Comet Helenin disturbed seriously major planets of the solar system. Seems too much for unpretentious comet, doesn't it? It may be explained from the following point of view. The comet is fixed on the external border of the magnetic field of Nibiru. Indeed, according to some estimates, magnetic field of Nibiru has a radius of 8 to 25 astronomical units. Natural direction of Comet Helenin is outside the solar system, according to some sources. If so, then the comet was to leave our system, unless the influence of Nibiru, which holds and directs it inside the solar system. This way, Nibiru gives additional power to the comet. Hydrogen cyanide was discovered in the composition of the comet Helenin. Consequently, the atmosphere of the Earth will be in danger of poisoning when our planet is coming through the comet tail. And this is not the only danger. Cyanide is a natural dielectric and turns the comet to be an electrical capacitor, capable of storing a massive electrical charge, which can be released in a blink of an eye for any of a number of reasons. Consequences for the Earth may be most disastrous. As celestial bodies, comets are supposed to obey strict cosmic laws, although sometimes comets surprise scientists. So in 2000, comet S4 Linear mysteriously disintegrated just as it was about to cross the ecliptic. The comet just stopped existing, and now it is hardly possible to ascertain the real cause of that. But there is an established fact. In July 2000, all members of Svetlana Pionova Academy of Development were jointly praying and meditating daily, aiming to protect the Earth. Joint prayer of a mass multiplies the power endlessly. The strength of the solidary community mental energy was determined to protect the planet from uninvited cosmic guests. Today, it's easier to believe that the comet disintegrated due to solar heating or collision with other celestial body, never discovered though. But isn't that strange? This regular event is as unlikely as direct hit of a plane to a certain building. According to the Hopi prophecies, the harbinger is followed by a more dangerous star. Let us consider some estimated properties of Nibiru. Nibiru. Magnetic field of Nibiru is 41 times stronger than that of the Jupiter, the largest planet of the solar system, and 1,000 times stronger than that of the Saturn. The magnetic field's diameter of 16 to 50 astronomers' units, according to different sources. Electromagnetic fields of the Sun and the Earth revolve counterclockwise, while these of Nibiru revolve clockwise. So when Nibiru approaches the Earth close enough, the Earth may change the direction of its revolving. If that happens, we will see Sun rising on the west and setting on the east. Where Nibiru is between the Sun and the Earth, natural electromagnetic interaction between the two bodies will be interrupted. You may ask, why such great planet has not been observed in telescopes? Perhaps due to the properties of the planet's atmosphere and force field. The planet hardly reflects but absorbs light rays and is invisible for regular telescopes because gold is atomized in its atmosphere, the gold stolen from the Earth, yet its gravitation has been detected by scientists. Today, moon play, its unusual location on the sky, sudden disappearance, or unusually long full moon periods witness changes of the Earth's gravitation. May that be the reason which caused 2 days early sunrise at the polar night in the Greenland. The astronomer who intended to study the planet in infrared spectrum died suddenly. May it be that the planet may be observed in infrared spectrum specifically. Official science also pays special attention to the subject. For example, NASA closes its telescopes. EROS was placed into orbit in 1983 to observe sky in infrared rays. EROS discovered Nibiru in 1893. Same year, EROS was closed, but it's still on the orbit. On the 17th February 2011, NASA closed WISE, the telescope with better capacities compared to EROS. It makes to believe that infrared observations are prevented specifically. It is known that security clearance is necessary for infrared spectrum observations in Russia also. It is difficult to sort out information if it is concealed or mispresented. Today, it is impossible to deny global changes happening. The question is whether we are able to realize the situation and decrease disasters threatening to our planet. We have one planet to live on, so we have to act all together, the whole humanity. To deny that global changes are advancing on a full scale is impossible anymore. The question today is whether we can orientate and diminish danger threatening to the Earth. Since the planet is common, we have to act all together, the whole humankind. We accepted enslavement. That is why Nibiru has power over us. Similar attracts similar, evil attracts evil, good attracts good. The only thing that can save us is struggle for justice in our lives and an appeal to the power of high civilizations, because they do exist and they are waiting for our appeal. For according to the ethical laws, it is not allowed to intervene in people's destiny without their request. According to all ancient prophecies, Lord Maitreya is to lead people through apocalypse. But to call him to help, people have to pray constantly, or better, simultaneously, once an hour. We have strength of mind, thoughts, feelings, power of psychic energy. We can create a protection if we unite in action and in the noble, lofty impulse of prayers to the divine world. We have to ask for forgiveness for ourselves and for the nation. After all, we reap the fruits of our own mistakes, our laziness, indifference. We have to pray for salvation of our country and for the salvation of the whole planet. There were many battles in our history when the collective prayer made a miracle and we won. It is time to show heroism in the spirit. Let's read the same verse, silently or out loud, everywhere and every hour. We must ask the heaven, shouting loud, and limb of the devil will be blasted out, and fire of heavens will hit every snake. Great love for the world is going to wake. Maitreya, my Lord, give us your breath to save our planet, the earth, from the death. Give us your legions from heaven down here. We are waiting for miracles, praying so clear. We can state the law on the earth, now and here. Reptiles are burning, they'll never be here.
Шаги по восстановлению общественной
Political party
справедливости,
Volya
которые
suggests
предлагает
the following
партия
steps
Volya.
to restore
Мы
social
должны добиться
justice in
отставки
Russia.
правительства,
We must
разрушающего
achieve the
Россию.
resignation
Партия
of
проводит
government that
общероссийский
destroys Russia.
референдум.
The
Власть,
party holds
которой народ не
nationwide
доверяет,
referendum.
нелегитимна.
An authority
Президент
that
нарушил
people do
свою
not trust
присягу.
is illegitimate.
Поставь подпись
The
под
president
требованиями народного
violated his
референдума
oath.
партии Воля.
We do not
Мы не
trust this
доверяем власти
government
и
and
выборам, которые
elections
она
it conducts.
организует.
We claim
Выборы, в
forthcoming
которых
election
могут проходить
illegal because
кандидатуры лишь от
only
партий
registered
незаконных,
political parties are allowed to participate, but
Лишь
they involve
2%
only
населения
2%
состоят
of
в партиях.
population.
Значит,
Therefore,
интересы
interests of the
98%
remaining
граждан
98%
никем
of
не
citizens
представлены
are
во
not
власти.
represented by
Отмена
any
порога
authority.
явки и строки
The
против всех,
cancellation of
лишение нас
turnout
прав,
threshold
протестовать
and the
против
option
навязанных
against all
властью
deprive us
кандидатов.
of right to
Выборы с
protest
такими
against
условиями
candidates imposed on us by
антидемократичны.
government.
Уже сейчас
Under
они
such
должны быть
conditions,
объявлены
elections are
незаконными,
antidemocratic
недействительными.
and are to be
Прими
declared
участие в
illegal,
протестных
not
акциях
valid.
партии Воля. Главное оружие разрушителей России
The main
замалчивание,
weapon of the destroyers of Russia is
Наше оружие
suppression and
разоблачение
hypocrisy.
лжи,
Our
информирование
weapon
народа.
is the
Говори о
exposure of
происходящем
lies
всем и
and
везде.
informing people.
Распространяй листовки партии Воля. Образцы листовок на сайте. С миру по нитке. В партии Воля нет олигархов. Мы за вас, а вы за нас.
О Боже, как же горько на нашу жизнь взирать. Стена не жалоб столько, а веры не сыскать. Все силы, мысли, души в победе нам нужны, а слабый ей не нужен, и слезы не важны. Мы часто выбираем удобный легкий путь, а трудный оставляем потом когда-нибудь.